All right. We're starting in Hosea 8, and my goal is to finish through 10 tonight. So our focus is just kind of looking at these three chapters in light of how God, through Hosea, God describes Israel, where their state is, their state of being, their state as a nation, and there. So as we look at that, that's what we'll be looking at tonight. Again, not saying I'll get all the way through 10, but that is my objective tonight.
Where are you starting at?
Hosea 8, verse 1.
8 through 10?
8 through 8. Chapters 8 through chapter 10, yes. So we're there. So as we look at Hosea, and we kind of look back on there, just a couple things for us to keep in mind. How long was Hosea's prophet as a prophet, minister to the northern kingdom? How long was that time period? Well, it was a little over 50 years. If you do the math, there's probably some better solution than me, but it's over 50 years.
What was his position now?
He's the prophet. God called him to be the prophet to the northern kingdom during this time. To call them back to...
Does that mean king?
No. Prophet means speaking for God.
That's
that's what Hosea was called, to speak for God to the northern kingdom during this period of time because of their rebellious nature.
Did all the kingdoms have a prophet or two?
In most cases, yes, during this period of time. God called up as he did. If you look at the prophet section, you have the majors like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. You have the minors like Hosea, Amos, Hagar, and now they won't come to me. But anyway,
Were they equal with the priest or over the priest or what?
They were prophets of God. They had no relationship to the Jews. They were strictly, God called them out to be the prophet, the mouthpiece to the nation at that time. They spoke for God. And over this period of time to the northern kingdom, Hosea did that over a span of 10 years. Because sometimes when you read the scripture, you kind of condense the time. You think, oh, well, he just told them that yesterday out of chapter 2. And he might have went 3 or 4 or 5 years before God gave him the next set of words to say to them. So that's what there. And in the case of Hosea, as we look at Hosea, what is the kind of the underlying theme, theme for the book of Hosea?
Trying to show his people that they had gone sideways and how far they had actually gone. And in the private depravity, I guess you'd say, and then how he was going to bring them back, what it was going to take to get back to where you were.
Yeah. Okay,
that's what I get.
That's fine. Anybody? As you look at the theme of Hosea, as you look at Gomer and Hosea's relationship in the first 3 chapters, and then you look at chapters 4 through 14, what is the encapsulating theme of that?
He married a prostitute.
Well, they're going to be punished. But what is God, in all this time, in this span of time, as God speaks to the children of Israel, what is his ultimate desire? Reconciliation. Yeah. God's redeeming love is kind of the theme of here. His whole goal here, God's whole goal using Hosea for the northern kingdom, and then this time, is to redeem them. He's going to punish them. You're exactly right, because they've messed up. But his ultimate goal and desire is to redeem them, because that is exactly why he told Hosea to go back and buy Gomer back. Why? Because he wanted to show that love that comes only from godly's love, that brings a person to another person and says, I'm so in love with you. I love you so much. I'm going to buy you back. Because exactly what Christ did on Calvary for us is he loved us so much that he said, I'm going to pay the price to buy you back for my Father. Awesome. And that is exactly what Hosea is telling the children of Israel. Yes, we got chapters upon chapters of him calling them all kinds of things and telling them where they're gone wrong. And that's a true statement. But at the end of the day, God's holy desire is to say to the children of Israel, I love you. I have a plan to bring you back to me. And so that redemptive love, that whole idea of redemptive love. And so that's, as we look at these next chapters and we look at the process of Hosea uses a lot of symbols. And so we're going to take a look at them. I'm going to read chapter 8, and I'll probably go ahead and sneak into 9, verse 9, because from 8:11 to 9:9, kind of the same concept, the same description of Israel. So I'm going to read through that, and then we'll come back and basically chop it up and take a look at everything there. The scripture says, put the trumpet to your mouth. Like an eagle, the enemy comes against the house of Yahweh because they have trespassed against my covenant and transgressed against my law. They cry out to me, my God, we of Israel know you. Israel has rejected the good. The enemy will pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have appointed princesses, but I did not know it. With their silver and gold, they have made idols for themselves, that they might be cut off. He has rejected your calf, O Samaria, saying, my anger burns against them. How long will they be incapable of innocence? For from Israel is even this, a craftsman made it, so it is not God. Surely the calf of Samaria will be smashed to splinters, for they sow the wind and they reap the whirlwind. The standing grain has no growth, it makes no flour. Should it make anything, strangers would swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. They are now among the nations like a vessel in which no one delights. For they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey all alone. Ephraim has hired lovers, even though they hire allies among the nations. Now I will gather them up, and they will begin to diminish because of the burden of the king of princes. Since Ephraim has multiplied altars for sin, they have become altars of sinning for him. Though I wrote for him 10,000 precepts of my law, they are counted as a strange thing. As for my sacrificial gifts, they sacrifice the flesh and eat it. But Yahweh has not accepted them. Now he will remember their iniquity and punish them for their sins. They will return to Egypt. So Israel has forgotten his maker and built palaces, and Judah has multiplied fortified cities. But I will send the fire on its cities, and that it may consume its palatial dwellings. Do not be glad, O Israel, with rejoicing like the people, for you have played the harlot, forsaking your God. You have loved harlot's earnings on every threshing floor. Threshing floor and winepress will not feed them, and the new wine will deceive them. They will not remain in the land of Yahweh, and Ephraim will return to Egypt, and in Assyria they will eat unclean food. They will not pour out drink offering of wine to Yahweh. Their sacrifices will not please him. Their bread will be like mourner's bread. All who eat it will be defiled, for the bread will be for themselves alone. It will not enter the house of Yahweh. What will you do on the day of the appointed festival and on the day of the feast of Yahweh? For behold, they will go because of destruction. Egypt will gather them up. Memphis will bury them. Weeds possess their desirable items of silver. Thorns will be in their tents. The days of punishment have come. The days of recompense have come. Let Israel know this. The prophet is an ignorant fool. The inspired man has madness. Because of the abundance of your iniquity, and because you are still to his abound, Ephraim was a watchman with my God, a prophet. Yet the snare of the birdcatcher is all his ways. And there is only hostility in the house of God. They have dug deep in corruption, as in the days of Gibeath. He will remember their iniquity, and he will punish their sins. All right. So as we look at these, again, we're going to look at it in light of just some of the ways Hosea, with God's guidance, begins to describe the children of Israel, or the nation of Israel there. So as we look in verse 1, what is the first thing? As we look at verse 1, what is the scripture description there? Yeah, and that's a shofar. That's the horn thing. So it's a call. It's the shofar in which they use. It wasn't for music purposes. It was for calling, rapid calling into action, into the thing. So the ideal there is that they put that to your ear and there. So that would be what? Or to your mouth, excuse me. I'm sorry. I was thinking something else. Put the trumpet to your mouth. The ideal is what? That God's saying to them. Yes, it's coming. I'm blowing the shofar to you. It's coming. It is coming, it is coming, it's coming. And oh, by the way, he goes on to say what about it in verse 1? What about the eagle?
There's going to be judgment behind it.
Yeah. But it's so immediate that what is the ideal here on verse 1 when Hosea uses the idea of an eagle? And that can be translated as a turkey. There's a special bird called a vulture. Yes, it can be a vulture. But what's the idea? The picture, whether it's an eagle or a vulture, what is the idea? What do we picture here in Southeast Texas when we see a bunch of hawks or vultures circling above? Or they're about to be dead, right? Is that not that's what we see. When I see vultures over my cows, I'm worried that I got a cow sitting there that's either dead or about to be dead. So that's the picture here. Hosea is painting that picture. He paints the picture of the shofar, calling to action immediately, and then gives you a description of eagles circling, waiting for Israel to die. And who would be the eagles in this case? Assyria. So he's painting that picture that, hey, you're like a dead person just waiting to be ate up. Just wait. It's coming. And so that's the picture there that is there. And that's what the ideal there. So as we look at that, as we look at it as a picture there, then he goes on in verse, and that is covered down 1 through 6 as you look at it. To my cry, my God, Israel, know you. Yeah, let me read it over here. I read it better, bigger. They cry out to me, my God, we of Israel know you. Is that a true statement?
No.
Is that a true statement of the children of Israel at this point in time?
They say it, they don't act it.
There you go. They say it. They don't know God because what does the word know encapsulate? To have a relationship. Israel has no relationship with God at this time. Period. They have sinned, broke all the rules, broke all the stuff. They are totally separate to the point that God's bringing judgment on them out of Assyria. And the picture here is that they say, and what did Jesus say about that? What did Jesus? Well, no, let's go a little. Yeah, that's one. But Jesus said exactly the same thing. And it ended with, depart from me that I never knew you. Why? Because they said, I know you, Lord. I've done this and this and this and this and this in your name. And God's saying, you might have done it in my name, but you don't know me. The children of Israel were doing things that met the criteria, but God's saying to them, you don't know me. You say you know me, but your actions, your lifestyle, your stuff says to me, you don't know me. You don't know me. Because
for somebody that seems kind of like it gets worse. It's a generational thing. Like a generational change, and then you get a change in who they're worshiping. Yeah. And then as they get older, they get a little wiser. And is that what's going on?
Well, not so much wiser as just God smacks them.
Right. And the older get it, the younger
smacks them
they get another
back into reality. Because what does he do? What's going to happen here? What do we know is going to eventually happen to this children of Israel? They're going to be brought to captivity by the nation of Assyria. They're going to bring them to. What happened in Egypt? Joseph died. They came in. They brought them into captivity, and it took Moses. God running Moses in there to take them out. But he got their attention through that process, and that seems to be, from an Old Testament perspective, more times out of none, God allows them to be captured or sets it up for them to be captured, brought into captivity, realize their wrongness, and then out of that he comes back and he brings someone in to bring them out. And so, but that's the idea here is that.
About a prophet when you say someone going in to bring them out.
No, I'm not talking about a prophet. Well, Moses, yes, Moses was an example, but no, not all
was a prophet, wasn't
he? He had, but Moses just one of. The rest of them didn't go in and take them out. They told them that you're going to go in, or they told them you're wrong, and they prophesied whatever God had for that thing. So not every prophet went in and brought. Hosea died before Assyria. The children of Israel left Assyria. Guaranteed. So it's not always. But yes, Moses is one that God called. But even Moses, when Moses went in with them, he had been separated from his people for how long? Huh? Exactly. Moses said yes. He went off into his own world. He went and got to his father-in-law. Went through all that process. So he was many years separated from the children of Israel as a nation. Moses was. So God called him out of that life and brought him in and brought him to call him and Aaron and them to bring the children out of Egypt. So, but the thing is there. So as we look at verse 3, it says, Israel has rejected the good. The enemy will pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have appointed princes, but I did not know it. With their silver and gold, they have made idols for themselves that they might be cut off. So what is Hosea saying to them there? What's the picture here? What's the picture here in those few verses? They're going their own way. God through Hosea says they set up kings and I didn't know nothing about it. God didn't appoint any of their kings during this time. He did appoint David and Saul, but he didn't appoint, and Jeroboam and a couple of them, but he didn't during this time, did not appoint any of these kings. And he goes on to say, what about the princesses? Didn't know them. Wouldn't point them out. And what is that the picture of? The world. But more importantly, in that light, the children of Israel were not seeking God's guidance for them. They have abandoned that ideal. They had abandoned that whole idea. They did not have any desire to seek God for the answers to what they needed. I.e., if they needed a king, they didn't seek God for the king. If they needed princes, they didn't see there. They go as far as to do what? At the latter portion of verse 4 there. Well, the golden calf, yeah, we're going to talk about that. But they made idols. Silver and gold, they made idols themselves, that they might be cut off. Why would they be cut off if they made idols? Huh? Yep. Is it breaking, outright breaking of the commandments? Yep. He goes on in verse 5. Now we talk about that. He has rejected your calf, O Samaria, saying, my anger burns against them. How long would they be incapable of innocence? For from Israel it is even this. A craftsman made it, so it is not God. Surely the calf of Samaria will be smashed to splinters. So, what's the picture here? You're so knuckleheaded that you go out, cut down a tree, and you make an idol and burn the rest of it. You burn one part of the tree and you make an idol out of the other part of the tree. How stupid is that? To put your faith in idols that you made out of the same tree that you just wouldn't put in the fireplace to cook some dinner. That's the picture here. Y'all have lost it. That's what God's saying. Y'all have lost your minds. There. And what about the calf? What's there? Because this is not the first time about the calf, is it? No. What's the first time we read about the calf? Yeah. Yep. Moses had went up, did the tent. They didn't wait on. So what happened to that calf? Smashed it and they had to drink it. What is this a picture of?
What do you mean they had to drink it? Made out of gold.
That's right. Moses crushed it down, put it in water, and made the children of Israel drink it. Yeah, that was the thing. Yes. And what is the picture here? What's the picture here?
Did he let it cool off?
I don't know. That I can't answer, but I do know he there. Yeah. Surely the calf of Samaria will be smashed to splinters. So again, the same idea. What? That idols that are brought. Go ahead, Emily. Yeah, because anything brought before God that isn't purposed by God, that isn't made by God, is going to be eventually destroyed. So all your humanness, all your man-madeness, all your idea that I'm going to worship something that I can make, that I can see, all that is going to end up just like the calf as Moses destroyed it out of there, just like the example here. It's going to be smashed to smithereens. That's the idea. Because why? What happened to the idols? I mean, not the idols. The gods, when was it? When they were moving the ark, and they put the ark in the same temple as some of the gods. What happened to those gods?
They fell over.
Or idols. It's not gods. They were idols. Yeah. They fell over. And eventually they fell over facing the ark.
Right.
Worshiping and a form of worship. Why? Because God says, you can't have any idols before me. Any other gods before me. And in the midst of that, I will destroy them. I will destroy them. And by the grace of Jesus Christ, that is exactly what happened in our life when we're saved. Is that is destroyed. God destroys those things in our life. We want to do like the children of Israel a lot of times. We want to go make our own little idol. It might not be a physical one, but we make our little idol and we kind of go down that path. And God has to remind us, and He has to destroy that in their thing. So again, another picture there. So as we look at verse 7, what does 7 say? For they sow the wind and they reap the whirlwind. The standing grain has no growth; it makes no flour. Should it make anything, strangers would swallow it up. What is the idea there? What's the symbol there? The picture? Yeah. But what's the idea when Hosea says that you sow the wind? You waste your time. When you sow things like wheat, and they're in the days where they tried to cast it, on a bad day, who's going to reap the harvest? When you're casting wheat down a row and the big old winds gusting around, who is going to do it? Somebody else is, because you ain't, because it ain't never going to hit the ground on your side. It'll hit the ground somewhere, but it's going to hit there. It's useless. To do it in the wind, to reap the wind, that whole idea is a picture of uselessness. Because you don't reap anything out of there. But it's all worthless. It's all worthless. That's the idea there. Is that you're reaping the wind, or sowing the wind and reaping the whirlwind there. And the idea there is, again, what I was kind of alluding to is, if I'm doing that and it ends up over there, I'm not getting any benefit. I'm never going to see a stalk rise up. It'll be there, and a stranger would swallow it up. And then verse 8 says what? Israel is swallowed up. They are now among the nations like a vessel in which no one delights. The picture here is of what? The idea that no one delights in that vessel or that pot. What is the idea there? They look just like the rest of the world. It's a useless pot. It's there. Because why? And Nelson, you're right on the deal. It becomes worthless. If a vessel is seen by someone as not useful, not there, for them it's a worthless thing. I'm not going to spend it. For some it might be, but for that. So the idea is what? Is that God's saying to them, you have become a worthless vessel, a useless vessel. Because of the... That is exactly right. The potter made you to do X. You have become a there. You have become like the world. You now have all the stripes and the painting and the dots of the world, and I made you something different, and you're there. So you're now a useless thing. So Israel had become, in this time and age, a useless vessel in the nature of the beast. So, and there. And then in verse 9, let's look at that real quick. 9 says, for they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey, who are all alone. Ephraim has hired lovers. Again, anybody know anything about wild donkeys? Who? Huh? They're stubborn. Wild donkeys. Most donkeys run kind of packish in nature and gentle, and they kind of work together. They do that. In fact, if you have donkeys in with cattle or sheep or whatever, those donkeys will protect them from the wolves and the coyotes and stuff. They'll kill them. So there. But when they become wild, they become unpredictable. They don't do that kind of stuff. They run on the muck. They might be off by themselves. They might run with another buddy, but they go where they want to. There's no idea of community there. They're totally chaotic in their nature. a wild one is. And in fact, they read stories, seen some things that wild donkeys will attack a lot of things because they don't have that idea of protection. Whereas if you, like I said, if you get a donkey, raise them up with your cattle, they will protect them with their life. They'll destroy it. But the idea is that whole idea that for they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey all alone. Ephraim has hired lovers. So at this point in time, Assyria hasn't captured. So what is this a picture of? Like wild donkeys, they're just running amok into Assyria, trying to get their attention, trying to get them to help them make alliance with them, trying to join forces with them, trying to do that. Like a foolish wild donkey is the picture there. And it goes on to say what in the latter parts of that verse. And not only of that, they're back to hiring lovers. And what, again, it's in relation to Assyria. Because Assyria is Assyria of God? No. Is Syria against God? Most likely. So the picture here is this like wild donkeys, they're trying to make friends with, be associated with the Assyrians, and to the point of buying them like you would buy a lover, a prostitute. The same thing. So, and there. So, I ain't gonna make it, Amber. Yeah. All right. And then 8:11 through 9:9 gives us a kind of a picture of the Egyptian bondage. And I'm trying to get my thing here. Cancel. Thank you. Since Ephraim has multiple altars for sin, they have become altars of sinning for him. Though I wrote for him 10,000 precepts of my law, they are counted as a strange thing. As for my sacrificial gifts, they sacrifice the flesh and eat it. But Yahweh has not accepted them. Now he will remember their iniquity, punish them for their sins, and they will return to, where are they going to return to? Egypt. So Israel has forgotten his maker and built palaces, and Judah has multiplied fortified cities. But what's going to happen to that? But I will send what? God's going to send what? I want to say that will consume its palatial dwelling. So again, the things they're making with their hands, the things that they're thinking of doing, have no relationship to their relationship with God. They were not directed by God. They were there. It was just their desire to do these type of things. And God's saying to that, all your humanness, all your things that you think are good, I'm going to do what to them? I'm going to destroy them. And even though I don't know that that's what Hosea's intention here or even God's intention, but the idea, what do we think of when we think of fire upon something? It destroys it. Total annihilation. When a fire catches, and it truly catches, it's a total annihilation when it's through. And if you don't know, haven't never seen it, go look at bonfires that start out this way, and then within a short amount of time, they're collapsed, and they just become nothing. What used to be 20 foot high, 10 foot high, 15 foot high, now becomes nothing. Houses. How many of you seen houses? What fire does to houses? It just, if not left unchecked, there will be nothing left of those houses. Maybe the bricks, but even bricks, I've seen them disintegrate because of the thing. So the idea is that God's going to destroy them, make what they thought was forever. God's going to say, nope, it ain't forever. And he goes on in chapter 9, do not be glad, O Israel, with the rejoicing like the peoples, for you have played the harlot, forsaken your God. You have loved harlots, harlots earning on every threshing floor. Threshing floor and winepress will not feed them, and the new wine will deceive them. They will not remain in the land of Yahweh, but Ephraim will return to Egypt. Again, what do we see? Hosea describes what's been happening, and then immediately encapsulate that with the idea of returning to Egypt. So what's the idea there? It says threshing floors, wine presses will not feed them. Why would they not feed them? Huh?
They're part of their punishment?
No, well, it's part of their action. Not God's punishment is coming, so it's leading into that. But the idea is what? Is that once again, who was the provider of substances for the children of Israel when they're in there? God was. He fed them coming out of Egypt. He gave them quail. He gave them manna. He gave them water. He took care of them. Their shoes didn't even deteriorate. He took care of them. The picture here is that the children of Israel at this point in the game are totally dependent on themselves. The idea of them relying on their ability to produce wheat and produce grains of different varieties, to have wine made that comes to be drinkable. All that is the ideal here, is that God is saying to them, without me, those don't feed you. Won't feed you. Won't be a deal. That's the kind of the picture here. It's just a picture. I'm sure if I knew Hebrew with any grasp Hebrew in any way, form, or fashion, there's probably some more things that could be drawn out of that. But the idea again is a picture of Ephraim rejecting God, standing against God, and the end result is they're going to go back to Egypt and everything. So as we look at 9 in its totality, the ideal here is the consequences of disobedience. Every one of them. Then again, why would that phrase "return to Egypt" resonate with the children of Israel at that time? They know the history. They've heard the story. They've heard it over and over and over that Egypt was not a good thing. The punishment God put on them or allowed for them to go through in the Egypt under captivity was not a good thing. They've heard it over and over and over. So for Hosea to bring this to bear to them again, say, look, you do these things, Egypt's a coming. You do these things, Egypt's a coming. You're heading back. Because everything you're doing is exactly why they went into Egypt the first time. Because of the disobedience. As we look at a few of them, we'll go back. I got a few minutes. I can get through 9 anyway. Verse 1 says, "Do not be glad, O Israel." That's pretty interesting, huh? The idea of what? There shouldn't be no rejoicing in your life. You have played the harlot. You have broken my rules. You have disobeyed God. There shouldn't be no joy here. No rejoicing at all by the children of Israel at dinner time. That's what Hosea is saying to them as he talks to them. Again, the end result is, I'm threatening to take you back to Egypt. Again, in verse 2, he talks about the crop failure. Again, those things will not feed you. Because I'm the only one that can make them prosper, that can make them there, that they won't fail. The crops will fail on you. Number 3, or there in verse 3, again, if I'm going back to Egypt, what am I not going to be?
No good.
Well, that's true. Unclean. But when they left Egypt, where did they head to? Promised land. So if they're going back to Egypt, what are they leaving behind? The promised land. They left Egypt to get to the promised land. Now God said, you're going back to Egypt and you're leaving the promised land. You're leaving my protection. You're leaving my love. You're leaving my mercy. You're leaving my grace. You're leaving it and heading back to where y'all came from. I gave you the promised land. Why did God give them the promised land? To what Em said, they could, and it was theirs. Had they had that before? No. God gave them their own land. Why was land important? Because that's where you can worship God. That's where you can raise families. That's where you can honor God. That's where you can do the things. If it's your land in the midst of God giving it to them, that was their ability to serve Him, worship Him. That is exactly right. Yes.
But didn't they already do wrong whenever they went into the promised land? They didn't drive out all of the Canaanites.
Well, they did. Yes, and all that was yes, and all these things we see today is the exact result of things not being totally obedient to God's thing. That is correct. But the idea, though, is when God brought them out of Egypt, He had a place for them to land, to be their own, to be there. But yet, now He's saying to them, you're back to taking over, so I'm going to send you back toward Egypt, which means you're going to leave the promised land I gave y'all to do. So that whole idea of that. Verse 4, and I got 2 minutes. And we'll call 9 good, and I'll pick up on 10 next week. They will not pour out drink offering and wine to Yahweh. Their sacrifices will not please Him. Their bread will be like mourner's bread. All who eat of it will be defiled, for their bread will be for themselves alone. It will not enter the house of Yahweh. So what's that descriptive of?
They might have everything eaten in front of God.
Well, that's it. But part of the sacrificial process was bread. Not only was the sin sacrifice in there, but there's the grain sacrifices, the bread. The ideal here is that all that is being rejected by God. What you're doing, what you're calling worship, what you're calling sacrifice, I'm telling you it ain't. That's what Hosea is saying to him. You say it is this. Just like it's the same idea as them saying, I know you, God. No, you don't. Father, I'm worshiping you. No, you're not. I reject everything you think because your heart isn't right. You're not in it. I started to say you're not in it to win it, but that's probably not a good thing. But anyway, but the idea is that they thought they were doing something good, and God said, no. You're not. You think you're doing, but you're not. You're not.
Are they following, just out of curiosity, what is their situation in today's world? Are they following prophets? Or are they worshiping a true God? Or are they worshiping idols? What are they doing?
They're not. Well, they
How do you even describe what's going on?
well, again, there's some orthodox thing, but they don't do all the things that they did back in this time. There's no.
They never came back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So right now they're working against him with everything they got.
Well, and they never, yes, and they never came back. That's exactly right, Emma. That's exactly right. So let me finish up with 2 more. Verse 14 and 17, and we're a little late, but that's because I had to cook. Give them, O Yahweh, what will you give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breast. 17 says, my God will despise them because they have not listened to Him, and they will be those who flee among the nations. So the idea in verse 14 is what? No care. Yeah, barrenness. You're not going to have children. What did He do while they were in the wilderness? And going from Egypt to there? They produced offspring. They died. Not to go into promised land, but they produced offspring to be ready to go into the thing. God's saying, look, you're going to become barren. You're life. And then last, you're going to become a wanderer. That's what 17 basically say. My God will despise them because they have not listened to Him, and they will be those who flee among the nations. So they'll just wander and wander and wander. All right, I didn't get through 10, but we're in good shape. Still going there. Next week we'll look at 10 and 11. I'd like to get through 12. I'd like to do 13 on one night and 14 on one night. That's my goal. So we'll probably try to get through 12 next week and everything. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.